Hello and welcome to Sacred State Oracle. I'm doing weekly pick a card general readings to receive intuitive messages for you. Feel free to pause the video to tune in and see which card calls to you. It's a general reading, so take what resonates. And remember, no card reading should dictate your life. Always trust your own intuition and use common sense. If you find these readings helpful, feel free to like the video, subscribe, and click the bell so you know when a new one is up. Your support means a lot and helps this space grow. With that being said, I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Hello, deck number 1, and welcome to this week Pick a Card general reading. This week, the question we're going to be answering is all about your romantic relationship. So if you're single or if you're in a relationship, whatever stage it might be, you can tune in and see what's going to show up for you. With that being said, let's flip the card over and start our reading. So deck number 1. You got Door to Value, card number 31. Let me see, because I'm right away getting a few different energies for this card. It makes sense. Different people are tuning into this reading. For my singles, Door to Value for you right now has not much to do with actually how much you're making. Door to Value is the inner appreciation of who you are and what qualities you present in relationship and what type of, or I should say level of awareness you have that will either work with someone or won't work with someone. And a lot of times when that value, our inner value, is on a lower scale, then we look into the world, meaning outside of ourselves, to validate who we are. We're looking outside for them to give us that grading of our value. And if that's you, then the invitation here is to kind of change that focus from the out there, like your dates or your partner, and going inward and see how you can raise that arrow that kind of shows where you are at, like that little, if you ever weighted yourself where they have different weights on top, and then the person who weights you just taps them one way, and then there's another line and taps the other way to find exact weight of yours. So I feel that there is like this image for me, and it's like recalibration. Go inward and see how you can, from the inner work, recalibrate yourself to the point where your value goes higher. The way you see yourself, the way you love yourself, the way you accept yourself. Because when I talk about this awareness level of self-value, it's not from the perspective of ego, where you think or feel that if you achieve certain things, then your value go higher. If you, I don't know, done some things or have certain possession, then your value is all in that. That is what you give your power to. But a true value to me is acceptance of who you are and being able to tap into your spiritual nature and live from the place of joy and self-love, and obviously treating another person or people around you from that higher awareness and understanding and respect. So when you go inwards to recalibrate where your value, how you value yourself, how you see yourself, other places where you talk down on yourself, you're not in life where you're supposed to be, you struggling with the self-image. It could be physical, could be on career and things like that. Maybe your friends are all married and having children, and you've been single for a long time or for a while. Maybe, there's so many different variations that could be in your life, and the invitation is to go inward and not look outside for them to give you the grading. Okay, what else for deck number 1? Honestly, what I'm getting is that appreciation of yourself. The quiet appreciation, the quiet knowledge when you know who you are and you don't even have to convince other people of that. It's like, well, okay, if you don't see it, you don't see it. I'm not going to explain to you who I am and what I bring basically to that, that phrase, to the table. It's that quiet knowledge. And more you try to talk to someone and like validate yourself, like it's almost like less they see it. It's if they're not gonna see it, you're not gonna convince them. And the way you can tell if they see it is by action. How they behave around you. Do they make you priority? Do they communicate that? Do they value your priorities? Because to me, in a relationship, their fears in a way become not necessarily your fears, but they jump in my priorities so I could understand their fears. Like, for example, if I think there is a rational fear of whatever it might be, then I treat it with respect, because I might not understand it, but if it matters to the person, then it matters to me. I hope that makes sense. Now, let's see what else Spirit wants to share with you. Deck number 1. What else do they need to know about the relationships they're in, or if they're single? Need to bump their value. The good thing is door is slightly open. I don't get the feeling that it's closing on you. I get the feeling that it's opening. Let me get this card. Flew out. I'm getting a lot of goosebumps right now. Trust. Okay. A lot of goosebumps. Like it's you bursting through that door. If you can cultivate enough trust in the way things are unfolding for you. I heard this sun. This is so weird. I usually don't get it. Feel the sun on your skin, release the inhibition. Is that how it goes? Oh, feel the rain on your skin, release your inhibition. Well, that's funny. I don't think I ever gotten a song during the reading, so that's kind of cool. So yeah, like trusting yourself, trusting that everything you need within yourself. And yeah, I know you might like hate hearing that, because I definitely been in a place in my life where this becomes almost like irritation when someone will say, oh, everything in divine timing, everything happens when it needs to happen, and don't try so hard, yada yada yada, right? But it's true. When I am able to go to the place where I cultivate that inner trust of, hey, I am taken care of, I am trusting this process, because I had experience in my life when, honestly, when something needed to happen, it would go in a very like unbelievable ways and land in front of me without me even trying. And I try to remember those experiences, because honestly, if it needs to happen, it will happen. That will make it happen. Or the way this life design, at least to me, is that you're not gonna miss your things or lessons that you need to go through. They will be presented to you one way or another. So I feel if you are looking for that love, if you're single, or the deeper connection if you're with someone, or you're evaluating right now, is this the right person? I feel like a little bit of resistance in our relationship. I feel a little bit more maybe disconnect. Are we gonna go in, towards each other, or is this the time where it starts feeling like more and more that we are walking away? Um, but trusting the process and trusting yourself and never being scared of starting from zero. And that's what I feel some of you might be thinking, well, if I walk away now at my age or in my situation, it's like I go back to zero. Like, what do I do? But it's not like the zero right now gives me the sense of freedom. It gives me the sense of excitement. It gives me the sense of building new. And I'm not getting anything like chaotic. I feel like it's like just that inner peace. When you release the control, there is more room for peace within you. Deck number 1. Okay, what else do we want to... What else deck number 1 needs to know about their situations when it comes to romantic love? What else do they need to know? Give me one card. Hear the rain on your skin. I never could remember lyrics in songs. I have to look at them when I sing something. Or I'll remember maybe 3 lines and that's it. It really sucks. Sacral chakra, flow. Okay. You guys got two cards. Let me see if I can scooch this one. Which, again, feels this... That's the message of the self-value. Of letting it flow, letting it, trusting. Just imagine when you don't have to really figure this out, how much freer you'll feel when you release that grip, where you stop thinking that you're the one who needs to do everything. You are too much in your head, deck number 1, if those are the thoughts. Look, he's finding that connection between the heart chakra and the sacral chakra. And there needs to be this beautiful release, beautiful flow. Sacral chakra, it's a lot to do with the emotions that we store. And I just heard the word restoration. So maybe for some of you, that's the invitation of spending more time with yourself consciously, in a sense where you're listening to your body, listening to the energy within yourself, listening to the lower chakra, your sacral chakra, which is, you know, about creativity and sexuality and emotions and at times trauma, and seeing what's happening there. But there's like release and then restoring your energies, restoring your flow. Maybe spending time with the water, doing water rituals, water cleansing, connection to water. So that it's like that quiet, peaceful serenity, surrendering and serenity. That's beautiful. What else? Honestly, deck number 1, that's like the main message for you, is to release the expectations you put on yourself or the other person or what you want in a romantic relationship. Evaluate the way you value yourself, but it has to be that deeper value, not something that you're trying to convince yourself by saying, I am this, I am that, I am this, because that might get into ego a little bit. And then trust that everything is kind of up to, it's like the game of life we're playing. So enjoy the process, trust that what is yours will come to you. And it doesn't have to be so attached to it. I just listened to, who was it, Alan Watts, I believe, talking about how life is the game, and that as kids, when we played, we were able to switch from one role to another so quickly, and we as kids never thought like, oh, right now I played as a, well, his example was like, I think like cowboys and Indians, and then someone who is like, I don't know, having a playing house or something like that. And but the point is, like, when you were, for example, a, like, let's just keep a cowboy, right? And then your mom or dad called you to dinner and you went home, you switched that role, and you weren't worrying about like, oh, but I have to stay a cowboy, I have to be this or that. It was more fluidity and more flow between those different games you played, and that was his whole point of like, life is kind of like that game, and less be attached to roles. And on top of it, any day, any moment, we can choose a different one and we can slide right in, because those roles we identify with sometimes too much. Try to look at it as different outfits you're wearing and enjoy them. Like, enjoy them. See how you can develop the plot of your life of this game, but don't be so attached to them. Okay, that's a lot of what's just coming through. So someone needed to hear it. But thank you so much for tuning in, deck number 1. I enjoyed doing this reading for you, and we'll talk next week. Hello, deck number 2. Welcome to this week Pick a Card general reading. I am so excited you're here tuning in. This week question is basically all about relationships, romantic ones, and we haven't done that one in a while. I felt like it's time for my singles, or even those who are in relationships right now. Let's see what's happening on the love front, and what kind of messages we're going to receive for you today. Are you ready, deck number 2? Okay, let's flip this card and go. My goodness, this energy is coming through strong. Like, the first deck I just did the reading for was not like this at all. And all of a sudden it's like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Okay, we got caring connections in reverse. Okay, let's see what's happening. It sounds like a bit of a disruptions in plans, because the reverse is typically the opposite meaning of what the card is. I am reading intuitively, so let me tune in and see how I feel. And I remember that when that card fell out, it was like on like a sideways, and I had to tune in and ask, which way am I flipping it, how am I going to put it on my desk. So that tells me that the energy is in that stage where it can go either way. It's almost like it can go back to reconciliation and being, for some of you, and being like okay, and for the others it's like upside down. It's like very up, how do you say it? Imbalanced. It's like that seesaw. Is that what it's called? I'm sorry, I can't remember. That little, when it goes up and down, someone is down, another person goes up, and then another person goes down, and that's when you go up. So it feels like maybe the relationship you're in right now is not super compatible, in a way egoic or fueled by personal hurt and wounds that the other person reflects. It almost feels like when one is winning, another one is losing, which is not what I usually feel from this card, because when I like, the card to me is typically has that energy of care in it. So it's interesting that I'm getting that power struggle, but not necessarily always it's coming from like I want to win. A lot of times it's just that desire, that strong desire for another person to understand you, and then being hurt that they don't see it from the point you're seeing, or trying to ask them to feel the way you feel, which is not necessarily fair because we all come from different walks of life and different experiences, and no one can feel the way you feel. No one can know exactly the way you knowing. And then when you try to convince another person to feel that way, you are trying to make it, push it, control it, and that is never a good dynamic in a relationship, because ideally you want two people to learn from one another, learn how, you know, how one operates, and have mutual desire for two people to connect and understand each other and come from the place of compassion, and also understanding that nobody's perfect, but if we do have that desire to be honest and let each other speak so another person can hear it and try to understand, at least, you know, make that effort, not necessarily agreeing with it or thinking like it is like a rule or like absolute truth, but understanding that that might be the truth for another person, and it's all coming like together into this understanding. And that's something you might not having in your relationship right now. Deck number 2, it's just this up and down kind of thing. What else? It's never too late to apologize. Okay. It's never too late to apologize. Okay. I'm not gonna comment on that. What else? Stubbornness. Okay. Let's see another card to pull. What else deck number 2 needs to know about their relationship right now? And if you are single, you might be struggling with the inner battle. What do you want? You know, if the example could be that you have a desire that in your future partner you would like to see maybe this and that, and then on the opposite corner, and you know, different day you feel a little bit different, and you might feel, actually I am fine with where my life is right now. Why do I need additional stress, additional, like, you know, pouring my energy into the new connection? Because maybe your experiences in dating or being with someone weren't as what you expected to. So on one side you might be longing to a connection if you're single, but then on the other coin of that, like on the flip side of the coin, you're like, yeah, but do you remember what happened? Do you remember how much anxiety that cost me, or fears, or blah 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 blah, and then you start remembering all that mess, and you're like, no, actually I'm okay. No, thank you. And you know what's funny? Should I share that? My friend, actually, and I never thought it would happen to me, my friend called me, and she's like, you know, I had this very interesting chance meeting with someone, and they start talking, and he shared that he has some kind of like, you know, let's just call it some kind of like service to connecting people. I don't know if it's like a dating app or something like that. And she felt like she had to show my picture and say, can you help my friend? And he's like, what is she looking for? And she shared, and then she said, hey, I have his number, would you call him? And I'm like, no, I don't want to be in a relationship right now. Isn't that funny though? So you might be feeling something similar. All right, let's see. What deck number 2 needs to know? Oh my God, see? Are you... Okay. Major confirmation of balance. Call on angel of balance into your life right now. Ask the angel to help you release the control of the situation. Even me, in what I just shared with you, I need to be more of like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's not on my agenda, but I'm open. I'm open because I believe that divine intelligence is way, 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 way more understanding and knowing what I need in my life. So call on an angel of balance to ask for helping you to release the control, to ask you to see another person or yourself if you have that inner, seesaw happening, to see what is that, what are those energies that bring in that imbalance, what are those emotions, where they stem from, and see how you can bring it to more of that even flow, that harmony, that peacefulness inside of you. Peacefulness, is that a word? Um, wow. Yeah. And if you do not believe in necessary, well, which I think you do, if you're kind of looking, watching this video, you're probably more open to divine power, whatever it might be for you. But you can also journal about this and be really truthful and pour your heart out, whatever it might be, and then give it some time. Come back in 2 weeks and read it and see if you have a different perspective on things. For example, if right now you're really emotionally hurt by another's and you just, pour your heart out with how it affects you, how you feel about the situation of another person's behavior, and then come back in 2 weeks and see, or even in a week, and reread it and see if anything changed for you. Are you able to see it from a different perspective? And granted, from my experience too, some people, they just, that's who they are. They won't see what you try to explain or notice in their behavior, or they're just them acting out of from their own experiences of life and being who they are. So what is that they're trying to come through? And this is what might be scary for you, that you intuitively know that maybe there is no way for you to change, and by being heard and trying to work things through, it's almost like grasping that control, because what if it doesn't work out? What if this person is not going to satisfy or being able to hold space for you, or meet you emotionally or intelligently, or like whatever that might be for you, because there's a lot of variations in there. But the point is, the pain also coming from fear of, well, if that doesn't work out, then yet again I'm alone, or yet again I am not where I want to be, etc., etc., or pain of losing that person because you actually truly care for this connection. But you cannot control anything in life, honestly. So if it's hard on emotional level, on your human level right now, to hold on to it, call an angel of balance and ask for that help, ask for that support, energetically, emotionally, to carry you through this, no matter the outcome. Okay, deck number 2, that's what I'm picking up for you. And again, if it's an inner battle, same. Okay. What else? We have room for one more card to pull for you, deck number 2. Which deck should I use? Okay, this one is looking at me. My incense stick smells so good here. All right, deck number 2. Dun, 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 dun. What do they need to know, Spirit, when it comes to balance, disconnection, okay, reassess. Okay, what it says. It says you're being asked to take stock of your life and let go of anything or anyone that no longer makes you happy. Notice who and what brings you joy and who and what doesn't. It's time for some life cleanup. I'm telling you that this might sound like something you do not want to hear, and obviously you will have to look into your situation yourself and do what's best for you in the moment in your life, and nobody can decide it for you. But this deck is kind of like straightforward, even probably more than me. It doesn't sugarcoat necessarily, and it's like, okay, it's very simple. Does this drain your energy to the point that gives you anxiety, fearful nights, sleepless nights, where every text or lack of it makes you feel like you are going freaking crazy? Or is this like more of a temporary adjustments and learning and figuring this together, how both of you work and how you can move forward and learn from this, whatever might be happening with you two or within yourself, right? If you're single. So it's like, again, like a little bit of recalibration and trying to get things, your emotion, into a balanced state so that you can see clearly, so you can feel clearly, so you're not coming from the point of survival, high charged emotions. You know, it's easier to see a clearer picture when it's calm, when the energies are calm and they're not supercharged. So again, as I said, it is up to you how you're going to be doing things. Obviously, every situation is different, but this last card invites you to look at things again and like really maybe even make a list. This and that, you know, like with this and that, I mean, like, sorry, let's get more descriptive here. I hate when it's super general. Make a list of things that, like, say if you have this caring connection that is kind of back and forth, and you like write it, things that are positive about it and negative about it, right? Positive things could be, you know, what brings that peace or brings that harmony within that relationship. And a negative thing would be, you know, and also I can't even say that because sometimes the things that activate you in another person is exactly what you need to be brought to the surface so you can address it and heal it. So that wouldn't be really right thing to say. But if you're in a relationship and he makes you feel like SHIT most of the time, well, do you really think you need to stay in that? That's all I'm gonna say. Look for a balance, call for the higher power if you need it, and I can't say that word right now. Notice who and what brings you joy and who and what doesn't, and clean up. Okay? Deck number 2, thank you so much for tuning in. That was very straightforward. But I'm not here to fluff things up. That's not my style. I am not going to be reading cards telling you how everything is just going to be amazing in your life, because you know it is not how life is. There are challenges, and this is what is happening in a relationship right now for you, within yourself or with someone else. I wish you all the best though, and remember that it is going to be what it's going to be, right? And it's up to you how you make those decisions. Some things are worth fighting for, and some things we need to see when it's time to let go. And on that, I'm going to close it. Thank you so much for tuning in this week, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care. Hello, deck number 3. Welcome to this week Pick a Card general reading. I am so happy you're here tuning in. This week we're going to talk about relationships, especially romantic relationship. So if you're single, welcome. If you have a relationship, situationship, or whatever you have these days, welcome in. And this reading is for you. So deck number 3, let's flip the card and see what kind of things are happening and what messages we're going to receive for you today. Ready? You got third chakra, Archangel. Not sure how to pronounce it. I should probably learn because I've heard that many times, but forgive me because I do not know in this moment how to say it. But third chakra, that's the X actually. It's so funny. It's one of my first decks, and a lot of times when I do personal readings using this deck, angels always come out. It's like, it would be, say I do 5 card spread and like 4 of the cards would be angels. And it's so cute. I love my angels, but I should probably learn their names. Anyways, deck number 3, what are you getting here? Confidence is what usually associated willpower with the third chakra, knowing who you are, where you are, what you want. And because it was in reverse, that's the time in your life right now where that might be the insecurities that are coming through in your relationship or in a dating process, or if you're single, again, that could be something that might be preventing you from putting yourself out there and be like, hey, you know, because we attach so much to the outcome of things. We do not often do things and kind of like from the place of curiosity. Hey, let's see what's going to happen if I do this. Let's see what's going to happen if I do that. You know, just that playful curiosity. We usually attach so much, as I said, with the outcome, thinking, oh, if I put myself out on a dating app, will I meet him? Will I be discouraged? Will I be harassed by too many dudes that like say things that you think like, what make you see that? Will that energy deplete me? Will I go on dates and get stood up? Oh, I would not be able to live through it if he doesn't show up. What if he shows up and he's not like his picture and I'm in this uncomfortable situation? And how would I just leave the whatever you guys are meeting? You know, I feel a lot of that, like overthinking and being unsure, and now, honestly, in the end of the day, believing in your own ability to overcome whatever might be, not seeing it as like, oh, a little bit of a challenge. Okay, what would my character do? And I think that's very helpful sometimes to look at yourself as a character and knowing that tomorrow's not gonna like remember about this, and not to take it so deep and personally. You know, if you get stood up, you know, like you can say, oh my God, he looked at me and he didn't value me, or he thought I was not attractive, or whatever that might be. That's one way of looking at it. Another one is like, that man or woman, I don't want that person in my life anyways, because who does that, right? So thank you, universe, for that redirection. And hey, one closer step to maybe getting to what I want and moving things out of the way, and also checking in to see how it made me feel. I'm still confident. I'm still know who I am. Great. Let's see what else I can do, right? That's like a lot with the self-confidence thing is what I'm getting for you. So, and when I said it, I also just received a message for some of you guys who in a relationship and you allow another person influence you too much. And then in the back of your mind, it's almost like, do I tell them that that's not what I want to do? And even like a small choices, it could be them saying, okay, let's go to that place, do you want to go there for dinner? And you're like, sure. But in the back of your mind, you're like, actually I would rather enjoy staying home tonight, or would be better for me right now maybe going to a different place. But you don't voice it because whatever it might be for you, I'm not even going to go in there, because everyone can have different explanation for that and feelings about that. So it's almost like, for some of you who are in a relationship, you're not allowing yourself to speak up and talk about your needs and what you want, and that requires that confidence, right? It doesn't have to be confrontational, but it's like the ability to speak up and let them know, like, actually, you know what, how about we do this instead? What do you feel about that? So it's like it's that confidence, it's that like assurance of yourself. Um, that's a lot. Okay, let's see what else we have for you, deck number 3, when it comes to a relationship. For my singles, for my did I say situationships, relationships, wherever you are, no judgment. Okay, deck number 3. Mm-hmm. Look at that anxiety. Goosebumps. Okay. Shifting. Oh, that wanted to come out. You got open up. It's funny how that energy comes through before I see the card even. And do you hear my voice just changed? That's so interesting. Open up, like in through your throat chakra, open up, almost like it feels that, because we were talking about your expressing your needs, expressing your desires, but not, again, like, I'm sorry, but like it pulls me in different ways. Like for some of you, it could be that when you're expressing, and because you don't have enough experience in it, when you say it, it attaches to your inner child wounds, and then it brings out emotions, and you don't realize that. And almost like you call yourself silly for crying when you ask for simple things, and you're like, why am I so emotional? And you don't realize that when you step up and asking, it's as if you were that child in that situation back in your childhood when you could not step up for yourself and you could not ask your needs to be met, because you either be ignored, called silly, or worse, attack for your voice, attack for speaking up, belittled, telling you don't know anything, you're just a kid, like shut up, you know, whatever that range might be for you. And so whenever you in relationships, in dating life, express something, it's almost like you know that because you've done it and you start crying, and you feel silly that you cry over something so seemingly insignificant, you don't realize it's your little child coming up there and speaking. And it's really hard for that child because it's still so, you know, little and afraid, and the way it was met back then. And it's the inner work you need to do as a adult, right? Meeting your inner child and reparenting yourself and creating a space of vulnerability and safety and joy. Because I feel like as adults we lose that ability to feel joy even. And I feel that this card is asking you to open up. Open up so you can meet who you truly are, who, what, I feel like the soul wants to come out like in its originality. Does that make sense? Like, what is your essence on the soul level? Because we all different. We have, someone is very charismatic, and some are very, in tune with nature. I think every soul has a personality too. So maybe someone is more into laughter and making jokes, and someone is more serious. But at the base of it, we all come, at least in my opinion, from the same space, and we're all connected. But for you right now, deck number 3, it's like the invitation of opening up and trying to meet who are you on the inside. And that is a process, is that for you to get to know you and not everything else that kind of get attached to your identity is the word. Okay. And I feel like more you do that work, more confidence you're gonna acquire, because then you would understand more of who you are and what your needs are and what needs to be done, and then being able to speak from that point, from that energetic stand. I hope that makes sense, deck number 3. Let's see what other message you have, what other advise me before you. Let's see which deck to use. Okay. Deck number 3. What else do you need to know when it comes to inner child work, when it comes to your third chakra, your confidence, your healing, your gut? Change your focus. Okay, oopsie. Let's see. Change your focus. Yeah, card number 5, 4 to 5. Interesting. And see how peaceful she is, it seems, in this card with the birds are flying. It's like changing the direction, changing where you're going, opening those wings of yours, seeing more clearly, more focused. What things that you are looking at right now as obstacles, and you tell yourself, I can't do this because blank. Fill that up. I can't go dating right now because blank. I can't speak up my needs to my partner because blank. Okay. And I'm not gonna lie, deck number 3, it feels like there need to be a deeper work and inner child work, which is, not the easiest thing. It's not a walk in the park to sit with your child, yourself as a child, and reassure that child that you guys can change the focus. You can heal what kind of constricts your movement in life and in relationships. So even like me talking like slow right now, it's because of the energies of it are so, it's not easy. Let's just say that it's not easy, but you could definitely benefit from meeting your child, meeting your inner child. And when I'm saying your child, I mean like your inner child when you were a kid, right? So if you're not familiar with inner child work, Google it. You'll get plenty of information to understand what I'm saying. And that hopefully can help you shift your focus into the direction that is more loving, is more hopeful, is more needed. Not by bypassing the hurt and wounds, but looking at them from a different perspective. For example, let me give you an example so that you can have something more tangible, because I do not like this unnecessary general way of expressing ideas. For example, if and when I said it, it was so funny. I just had like a great example for you, and it just like floop, come back to me. All right, for example, if you have like a fear of abandonment because your father or mother worked a lot and you thought they just didn't, as a child, you just thought they didn't have time for you, right? Or they got divorced. As a child, you're like, oh no, my dad, my mom doesn't want me. They're too busy, they're never there. But then as an adult, how else you can look at that experience, right? But maybe your parents really, really need to be working because like they really needed to provide, especially if you're raised by a single parent. It's not that they didn't want or love you. It is because they didn't love you, right? Do you see how they could be different? Because they loved you, because they cared, they had to work so much because they wanted to provide you a better future. And that was their way of caring for you. That example might not be for everyone, but I'm just trying to illustrate how we can perceive things and think it one way as a child when it happened because we didn't understand or didn't have a full picture. But if we were there in that situation as an adult, we might have gotten understanding and better picture and therefore less wound or trauma. So for example, I still remember crying in my crib, standing there crying as a little, I don't know how old I was. I guess not so old because I was still in my crib, and I was standing there grabbing the rails, crying my little heart out, and nobody would come, no one. And I knew my dad was supposed to be home, but he would not come. And I was just so devastated, so devastated in my little heart. Uh, and then he showed up and he's like, "You were crying? What happened?" And turns out that he just walked downstairs to, like, I lived in an apartment in the city, and like literally on the bottom of the apartment there is a grocery store. You just so he just went downstairs to grab something from that store, so he could have been gone long at all, right? But you know, in that moment, in that time, it felt like forever, like something happened. I'm there by myself, left in that little crib. So that's kind of like my example when we might be seeing things one way, and if we're able as adults to go back and meditate on that situation and even ask or journal how else we can look at that, we might receive a different answer that might start moving those things for you. And it's all about, again, like helping you change your focus and help you heal your wounds, and so you can get that confidence and understanding who you are, because I think the confidence comes from when you know who you are and you are more aligned with what your soul is. And because then you're like, I am what I am. I am here, and this is me. And that brings that authenticity. It brings that inner power and the belief in yourself. So those are the messages for you, deck number 3 for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I enjoyed doing this reading for you, and I really hope you find it helpful. And if you do, like the video and leave a comment so I know you are watching. And I'll see you next week. Take care.